Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everybody. I love you all. My name is miahtheking, and is anyone looking to buy a DeLorean? Good shape, good mileage, only driven from time to time? No? Well, alright then. Now then, thanks so much for clicking on my video. So, why should you give me a chance? That's easy. I start every video with a corny joke or funny one-liner, as I just stated, and am one of the few reviewers out there who can help you figure out if you need this game in 10 minutes or less. So, let's get into this. Today we're taking a look at a game just released on Steam called Moon Mystery, a single-player sci-fi space adventure game developed by Cosmo Scouts and published by Indie.io, released not in early access, and selling for $20. And apparently, it's a really small team that made this. So, great, good for you guys, awesome, love to hear it. Now, what is this game anyway? Well, you play as Sam Walker. I know, right? And he's left alone on a moon, our moon, and he's having nightmares of fighting aliens on Mars. Anyway, he wakes up and you get a bit of a backstory. Not really why he's there or what his mission is or anything like that, but you do eventually find out aliens have arrived and are trying to wipe out Earth. Go figure. Now go on a vengeance killing spree of wanton destruction. If they're going to annihilate your race, then you're going to annihilate theirs, and that's pretty much the game. So as always, let's go into the good and the bad, starting off with the good. The first good thing I noticed was the price tag. Now for an indie game like this, $20 is a great price. Maybe a bit too good, actually. It could probably sell for another $5 or $10 more when you consider everything that's being offered here, and I'm going to get into those next. The point is, the price tag is super affordable, and it's a great thing to see. Next up is the gameplay. Now, the gameplay isn't the best, I'm going to be honest here. It feels a bit clunky, but the logistics are good, the baseline is good, the foundation is good. And what I mean is, it's pretty simple. You just run through linear levels shooting aliens. I'm not being specific because I don't want to give away any spoilers. The point is, you run from level to level shooting aliens and solving puzzles to progress to the next segment. And where I was thinking it was just an FPS with a bit of story, there's actually more to it. You have a level system where you can unlock perks to make yourself deadlier, or a currency system which you can use to purchase new guns or unlock and upgrade your current guns with new attachments. And as I mentioned before, with all the different puzzles, there's all kinds of different puzzle types here, from jumping puzzles,
that's pretty tough.
There are some laser puzzles, and then you just have the standard password puzzles.
Bingo.
Not only that, they decided to implement a unique mechanic to the game here that I haven't really seen other games do. They give you the opportunity to locate these data tablets that belong to the aliens. After your robot buddy learns their language, you can then find these and actually learn about the aliens. You start to understand them, sympathize, and just kind of overall relate to the aliens. You get to know them, basically. But it's not just that. They also give you another kind of in-game currency. A bit unclear whether it's experience points or some other third currency, but the point is the game is actually rewarding you for trying to learn more about your enemy, and I really like that. I don't see that a lot. But yeah, overall, the gist of the gameplay is this. You go to an area, you listen to quirky dialogue from your robot companion, kill aliens, solve puzzle, rinse and repeat. But the gunplay is decent, even if it is a little awkward, and I can't quite figure out why it's awkward no matter what I do. The levels are well designed for the most part, and overall I think the gameplay is more good than bad, so here it is in the positives. Next up for the positives is the sound design. The voice acting isn't cringy or sounding out of place, the sound effects for the guns and the aliens sound almost realistic, and the music is perfectly creepy and giving you this feeling of loneliness, which makes sense considering the plot. It's not amazing sound design, but it's not bad either, so here it is in the positives. And last but not least is the user interface and the tutorial. The game's tutorial is really straightforward and introduces you in a way that makes sense and helps you get acclimated to the game while also progressing forward. It's not overbearing and it's not too lengthy. You cannot skip it, however. As for the user interface, it's simple, it's clean, it's accurate, and it's nice to observe, which makes the rest of the game and its gameplay a lot smoother and more enjoyable. They don't clutter your screen with a bunch of useless stuff, they just simply show you and tell you exactly what you want to know. Oh, and the controls are perfect too, I want to make mention of that. Each key binding does exactly what you'd expect it to do in an FPS game like this, exactly the way you want it to, exactly the speed you want it to, so that's good as well. Alright, so that's all I can think of worth mentioning for the positives. Now we gotta go on to the negatives. But before that, I wanted to thank you for sticking around this long and want to ask if you would consider joining my Royal Army. How? That's easy. Just like, comment, and subscribe. And make sure to hit that bell. After all, I review all kinds of games all the time at random, and you never know when I'm going to review a game that you've been missing out on your whole life. Alright? Alright. So, now on to the negatives. The first, for me, is the story. I didn't really like it, personally. It's kind of cliche. Lone survivor against alien attacks with family either dead, in danger, or whatever. Random guy just way too accepting of what's happening and not really freaking out at all. Random aliens show up and invade us, blah blah blah. It's all been kind of done 1,000 times before, so it's not really that creative. It didn't really pull me in or make me care all that much. Not a huge negative, as the game is first and foremost a shoot 'em up game, but still, if you're gonna have story, at least make it somewhat engaging, interesting, or funny, just something. Next up for the negatives is the stability. Despite being a fully released game, I still ran into frequent glitches and bugs and other errors. I was dropping frames, I was clipping, I was freezing, but you know, hey, it never crashed. And it started up in a weird resolution for some reason. I was hoping the game would be a lot smoother, and if it had been, I probably would have enjoyed it more. In this video, I tried really hard. I didn't put any of the FPS drops in because everybody knows that makes for a bad video. And don't get me wrong, it wasn't unplayable or super broken. I want to make that very clear. It was just every now and then I'd run into one of these bugs. But still, I felt I needed to make mention of it. The next negative thing I want to talk about is the graphical design and the quality. I really don't like the look of this game at all. I wanted the game to be kind of mysterious and awe-inspiring or something, and I wanted the graphics to help relate that, but the game just looked really dirty and kind of ugly to me whilst playing it. The contrast was so awful that it took me forever to find the notes to the very first puzzle simply because it was so hard to differentiate them from the rest of the environment. And it does get a little bit better later on, but not by much. Overall, I was not pleased with the graphical quality here, and compared to the Steam store page, I definitely expected much, much better. Next up is the AI. They kinda dumb. I've seen the aliens just stand there and stare at me, not doing anything. Or all you gotta do is duck behind a corner for a second and they'll just stop everything they're doing, they'll stop shooting at you, and then you can just pop back out and unload a clip into them before going back behind the corner to do it again. Which leads me to another thing, the game was super easy with no way to up the difficulty. I was not even really using cover and just kind of running and gunning. I didn't die once except for when I, myself, jumped off the cliff accidentally or jumped off during a jumping puzzle. And the jumping puzzle wasn't even that hard, I just didn't even realize it was a jumping puzzle. It might not even be a jumping puzzle, I might just be stupid, but the point is, that was the only way I died. And last but not least, the game is kind of repetitive and lacks replayability. It's kind of just the same thing over and over again. You listen to your robot buddy talk about something with your character. You go to an area and locate a puzzle. Then you solve the puzzle. Rinse and repeat with a sprinkling of robot enemies here and there to kill. It never deviates, at least not in my playthrough. There's no choices, no decisions, or anything like that, so the game lacks replayability. And also, I'm thinking this game is not going to be longer than 8 hours. But, you know, I guess if it's at least 4, then it still justifies its price tag. But the point is if I ever played this game to completion, I don't think that I would ever return to it. I think there would be absolutely no reason to. Alright, so that's all the negatives that I could think of to talk about. What are my final thoughts? Well, the game's not awful, that's for sure. It's a pretty big game, and it's got a lot of really cool aspects to it that you don't typically see in a lot of games like this. Like, I wasn't expecting the in-depth gun upgrades and the unlocking different guns. I wasn't expecting any kind of currency. I wasn't even expecting the perk system for a game like this. And you even get special powers, which I wasn't expecting, and I think I forgot to mention earlier, but you get these special, unique, cool magic powers that you can unlock and strengthen as you play the game. However, I don't think that this is a great game either. I don't want to shit on it too much, as it's very clear that this is a small team of developers that worked really hard on this, and for the most part, they did a good job. But if I'm going to be completely honest, to me, it's just an average game. This is just an average FPS shooting game. That's it. It's not doing anything special. It's not doing anything new or unique. It's not doing anything that requires any kind of major shoutouts. But again, it's only $20, and it's not awful. So if you are into these kind of games, and you've been looking for a new one to just wet your beak on, then this isn't a bad investment. But if you're looking for the next big thing, I would definitely not look for that here. I'm not going to lie and say that this is some super awesome game, because it's not. I've seen dozens of games exactly like this. It's not unique, it's not original, and it's not even super high quality, but that doesn't mean I don't recommend it. Basically, I just want all of y'all out there to understand what it is you're buying before you get into it, alright? The choice is yours. For me, personally, I think this is just some average, bland FPS game. Is it good? Sure. Is it bad? Also sure. So honestly, it's going to depend on what you think about the pros and cons that I gave the game, and if you think it's worth that investment. I will say one thing though, like I said earlier, once you get through it once, you will probably never return to this game because the story just isn't interesting enough, the characters aren't interesting enough, and the gameplay just isn't fun enough to bring you back playing it over and over again, making you want more. Alright everybody? Alright, okay, I'm done. Thanks so much for watching, with a special thanks to those of you who stuck around to the end. If you have any questions or concerns, please let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I can't wait to see you all again on my next adventure. So until then, I bid you all farewell.